Chapter 1. The address Tamara had given him for Verity Daniels' condo was one of the big new Soma high-rises on Harrison, just off the Embarcadero. Which meant that Ms. Daniels had money and plenty of it, one of the reasons, if not the main reason, that Tamara had agreed to an after-business-hours appointment to accommodate a prospective client. You couldn't buy into a place like Bayfront Towers unless you had a minimum of $250,000 to spend on lodging. Runyon didn't have to try to find street parking, which would have been next to impossible in South Beach at 5:30 on a weekday. Too many restaurants and clubs, and the Giants playing a late afternoon game at AT&T Park down at China Basin. Bayfront Towers had an underground garage with visitor parking. But you couldn't just leave your car and take an elevator up to the residence units unannounced. You had to go through security protocol first. A uniformed security man in the garage had Runyon's name and the fact that he was expected by Ms. Daniels. That was the first step. Then he was directed to take an elevator that only went up as far as the lobby. The other garage elevator was for residents only, operated either by key or keycard. In the lobby, there was a glassed-in cubicle full of monitoring equipment and another uniformed guard presiding over it. Runyon had to sign a logbook before he was allowed access to the visitors' elevator. Modern urban living in steel and glass luxury. All well and good for those who could afford it and felt comfortable with it. For him, it would have been like living inside a fortified watchtower, living scared. The high-speed elevator whisked him up to the 12th floor, deposited him in a carpeted hallway with indirect lighting and pieces of decorative furniture that no one would ever sit in. Muted chimes sounded inside Condo 1206 when he pressed an inlaid pearl button. There was a peephole in the door. He felt himself being scrutinized, opened the leather case containing his license photostat, and held it up to the glass eye. Even so, it was half a minute before chain and bolt locks were released and the door opened.
"I'm Verity Daniels, Mr. Runyon. Thank you for being so prompt. Please come in."
30 or so, large-boned and on the voluptuous side. Dark hair cut in a short, feathery, in-curling style, mild blue eyes under artfully plucked and arched brows, a wide mouth painted with too much lipstick, a beauty mark just above the angle of her chin. Runyon was no expert when it came to women's clothes, but he knew expensive silk when he saw it. The silvery gray jacket and skirt and darker-colored blouse with gold buttons must have had a 4-figure price tag. Likewise, the diamond chip earrings, the blood ruby ring on the little finger of her right hand, the thin platinum gold watch on her left wrist. An expensive packaging job. And yet the effect didn't seem quite natural. As if she weren't used to all the rich woman's trappings, wasn't completely comfortable with the image she presented. The place, a large studio rather than a full-sized apartment, gave him the same impression. Richly furnished in blonde wood, modern art on a couple of the walls, thick pale blue carpeting, matching blue drapes drawn back over picture windows that provided an off-angle view of the Bay Bridge and Treasure Island, the East Bay Hills. The only thing that didn't quite fit the decor was a huge flat-screen TV mounted on another wall. The rest carried the carefully planned, formalized stamp of an interior decorator, and all of it looked brand new, unlived in. No personal touches, nothing out of place. He wondered if Ms. Daniels was afraid of disturbing its showroom perfection. If she wasn't at home in surroundings like these, why choose to live in them? She seemed to think his casual inspection was centered on the flat screen.
"I watch a lot of TV," she said,
but not as if embarrassed by the fact.
"It's really too big for the room, isn't it? The television?"
To be polite, he said, "Looks okay to me." She invited him to sit on one of a pair of streamlined chairs, claimed the other across a kidney-shaped glass-topped table. She sat primly, knees together, hands folded in her lap. Runyon set his briefcase on the floor and readied his notebook while he waited for her to open the conversation. Took her close to a minute, but not because she was having difficulty finding words, he thought. She spent the silent period studying him.
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.